5. Hello, everyone. Can you hear us? Me, can you see us? Sorry about the delay. Had issues with my equipment, so here we are. But I was brought to my attention by Kelly that there are a lot of questions. I'm gonna wait for some people to get here before I even start.
Okay, there we go.
They're piling in now. Okay. Sorry about that false start or delay. Issues with my computer. But everything should be running good now. But Kelly had brought up that there's always a lot of questions that people have, and people just, they've answered them, and people really don't know the truth about some of these questions. And one of the first questions she brought up, we had a group of people, she had a group of people. We added up 20 questions and we narrowed it down to 10. The first question was, did Steve and Avery really throw the cat in the fire?
Okay, so let me take that one. I just want to touch base on what Billy said. I've been going along a lot of platforms and I keep seeing the same questions asked over and over again. And like I said to the team, I said, you guys got to remember there's new people joining every single day. And they've watched MAM, but they've done no research, so they don't know much of the background. And I see the same questions or statement being asked, and that's like, oh, it sucks that, you know, Stephen threw that cat in the fire. Even though we think he's innocent, we think that's absolutely like disgusting, and I don't condone animal cruelty and stuff. And I totally get it, because when I first watched it as well, I took it away as that, you know, he did throw the cat in the fire, and it made me question his character, you know, because you think, oh God, if you can do that, that's pretty harsh. But doing a little bit of research, and I found, and a lot of people do know this answer, the ones that have really done their research, no, it was not Stephen that actually threw the cat in the fire. It was Tom Yanda.
No, Jerry Yanda.
So Jerry Yanda. The thing is
with a Y, not Yanda with a J. Yanda with a Y.
Yanda with a Y. And so he actually, in one of the statements that I found from Ken, he had made a statement saying that Stephen had put the gasoline on the cat, and it was by Stephen's directive orders that he was the one that picked it up and threw it in. So, you know, I think to myself, okay, that kind of doesn't condone that Stephen was a part of it, but he wasn't the one that actually did it. So I just pulled that one up, because a lot of people bring that up a lot.
Yep. And the reason why Stephen took the blame for that is because Jerry Yanda was on probation already, in trouble. So we pretty much saved him from going to prison.
One of the huge things with this one, and I'm glad that Kelly brought it up, is because you see a lot of people posting, and a lot of the professional people with, you know, Dr. Phil, etc., who run on and keep going on about how Stephen fits the profile because he did this abuse to an animal, and how that plays into his mindset and his ability to do this kind of a violent crime that they accused him of with Teresa and with Penny is the cat. So if you take that out, all we really have left is, you know, we take that out, and then you don't have the wrongful conviction with Penny Bernstein, because they used all of this stuff to really portray Stephen as a monster.
They did.
And yet you have the judge sitting there saying, you're the most dangerous man in this courtroom.
Mm-hmm. And not based
on one situation.
Well, and it makes me angry because, I mean, with what Kelly found, the article she found, it just goes to prove that Ken Kratz didn't care how anything was portrayed as long as he got his conviction. He knew better, and he let it be portrayed wrongfully because it benefited him.
Yep.
Yeah.
Do you guys in the chat have any questions at all that you'd like to be maybe possibly answered? Because we have a list of them we're going to go through, but I'd like to see your thoughts. T1, any questions from you?
Oh, that's a loaded question there.
T1 leans in the chat. Is this the ma'am addicts meeting asking for a friend or two?
I gotta say, T1 comes up with the best questions.
Oh, yeah.
They make you stop and think and make you pull into stuff and make you dig.
Well, another question that's always come up, does law enforcement have a direct connection with a funeral home?
Oh, hostile. We'll cover this one, girl.
Yeah. They don't have a direct one. They have an indirect one. A lot of the documents that Kelly and Justa Denny and Millbilly and Holly and I will be referring to, we have those because we had to change formats. Millbilly's not able to throw them up, but we will throw them into a room on Millbilly's BAM channel, which is the public access channel, which will have the same title. So you'll be able to go through and read this stuff for yourself. Basically, Michael Bushman, he married into the Pfeiffer family. The Pfeiffers are the ones who initially founded the Pfeiffer Funeral Home in Manitowoc that was in 1921. So it went down through the family. They had a furniture company as well that was in conjoined with this business. One of the things that I found quite interesting is if you actually go on Pfeiffer's website, you look at the bottom, they actually have 2 locations, and one of them is in Twin Rivers, which is, of course, right near the area that is such a hot spot of topic, Cuss Road. So I kind of found that was really interesting. So Leonard starts this funeral home. He passes it down through the family. A William Pfeiffer, who is actually Ann Pfeiffer's father, is one of the people who actually goes down in succession owning this. Ann is married to Michael Bushman. Mm-hmm. So inadvertently, they have a connection, but it's not like I've heard from many people saying Bushman's wife owned the funeral home, because she didn't. That's just not true.
I always raise the question of why was Bushman called in for one day for 9 hours and he never comes back? He has a connection to a crematorium, funeral home. He also is a dog handler.
It kind of seems like a lot of these cases that Manitowoc has where someone mysteriously meets a demise, that they step in and for some reason Pfeiffer seems to get a lot of the business. Whether they're being elected there or they're being offered up, Pfeiffer gets a lot of the business. Carmen Botwell, that's where her funeral was handled through.
Yep. Well, it's a small town too, though. There are other funeral homes in the area, but
so that is it. Do I think it's suspicious? Yeah. But is it notorious? We can't, just based on what we know, we really can't say that.
Mm-hmm. All right. Another question people always have: are Carmen Bootwell and Teresa Halbach related? Anybody?
So we've been looking into it. Caf has got a few things that she was looking into. This one's a tough one. It seems to be like if they are related, it's like through marriage somewhere. It's no direct blood link. So they're not like first cousins or anything like that. From what we've seen so far, it seems like everyone in that town or somewhere there has got some kind of connection to somebody. And I think it's one of those situations where someone's auntie's auntie married someone's uncle in the past, and there's a kind of family tie there, but there's no, at this point of stage, there is no direct blood tie that connects them that we found. If anyone else has found, please let us know, but there is no blood connection. It's through marriage.
I did not. And I dug. I tried to find something, and there wasn't anything. T1 does have a question back to Bushman, and I think Millbilly will probably be able to answer this the best. How long had Bushman been in retirement, or was he in active reserve position, like part-time on his way out to retirement?
Retired in, I believe, 2004, 2005. Shortly right before this happened, he was a reserve deputy, which they're brought in for special occasions, special assignments. So, very strange. Called in for one day, and that's the same day that Remaker is off. It's like they replaced him with him.
And if y'all haven't checked out the Cuss Road Talk, that goes into more detail as to what happened with Bushman and why we're so suspicious of him.
All right, another question. Was it really Teresa's last day working for Auto Trader? In my opinion, I say no, because if it was, why is she rescheduling people's appointments?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the question is, were those scheduled appointments for taking pictures of cars, or was it for something else? Do you guys know?
No, I just want to touch base on exactly what you said. This is one of those fact or fictions that we couldn't prove or disprove, because it was a he say situation. I believe it was Tom Pierce that made that statement that it was her last day of work. But exactly what Millbilly said, we have a calendar when she was making future appointments. If it was going to be your last day, why wouldn't she be telling all the clients that she had been seeing in the last week or so, sorry guys, I'm not going to be doing this much further. Can you go? I can recommend another photographer to start coming out to take your pictures.
That wouldn't have been her job. That would have been, all she would have to do was inform them that she wasn't working there no more, to contact the office, and they'll set you up with another person.
Oh, absolutely. But in saying that, if she was a professional, it would be courtesy to let the people that she maybe done a few pictures with, to let them know that this would be her last week here. Again, it depends on what relationship she had.
These people aren't contacting her directly. They're calling Auto Trader first, so she'd have no reason to say that.
Well, if anyone goes and looks at the actual physical copy of the day planner that was submitted into evidence, there you can look on the handwritten part and everything. She actually had sections out on November 3rd and November 5th where it says trader. So most likely that's Auto Trader. And she's scheduling time slots where she can do stuff for this trader. She also, was it Sipple that she had to schedule later, Millbilly, or just Denny?
There was a Dan Morrow that she was rescheduling with for the 3rd.
And so she's going to do Steve Speckman as well.
Okay.
He make it that day.
I'm actually looking at a copy of that day planner, and that'll be in there as well. She wrote in that area that said trader. That's where she wrote Dan Morrow. So it doesn't appear by any means that this was her last day.
And I think there's going to be photo shoots for Road Rage as well, which was up in that same area.
Well, I guess
Road Rash, not Road Rage.
Well, Well, wasn't that used? Didn't Ken Kratz kind of try to pull that in there that he had to strike because this was her last day?
You can't believe anything none of them say. They're all lying all the time. Every last one of them.
And an unknown source also was in People magazine saying the same thing, that she was afraid to go out there. That was the one, it talks about him coming out wearing a towel, and she was worried about it. She wasn't going back to the Averys, and they requested her to do one more job for her. And she didn't want to go, but they begged her to.
It's all lies.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that one up, Holly said, because that's actually one of the other questions that we see all the time, and that was, what's the situation with the towel incident? And Millbilly, you said because when I first brought this up, when I found this question being asked over and over again by people saying, what was Teresa really scared of Stephen? What happened with this towel incident? You said you go, I know that straight away. So if you guys just
if you listen to the jail calls, you'll get your answers for a lot of these questions.
Mm-hmm.
Stephen Avery had just been getting out of the pool. That's why he had a towel on. He wasn't getting out of the shower. He didn't just have a towel on. He had a bathing suit underneath. They're trying to paint Stephen Avery as a monster. Even when they go back and interview people that are giving in tips, they start out asking what they're there for, and then they try to twist the situation and get them to say something negative about Stephen Avery. Happens all the time.
The one thing that you can always use logical thinking, like Kelly likes to say, if she was terrified of this man, why is she walking towards his trailer?
To get paid.
Last thing I would be scared of somebody.
She needs to get paid.
I would not be walking towards anybody's trailer, though. If that was the case, and I was actually scared of somebody, I would be like outside. I'd be on the phone with somebody so they knew what I was doing.
But this is the question I raised earlier. Dawn actually says they gave the address of B. Jonda's address, 12390A. And so that would have been the Jondas. It's listed on their house, their address. It has an A on their home. So why would she be walking to Stephen? At that point, she had no idea that it was Stephen Avery. So there's no reason to talk that way.
Because when he called in the morning, he left his information and Barb's. And she's already been there how many times? You know who she's going to take pictures for.
Right.
We know at least 6.
And regardless, Avery Road, no matter what, every one of their addresses is on Avery Road. So I don't understand why that voicemail we're talking about, she doesn't know. Maybe she didn't recognize that number. We don't know exactly what happened because they didn't investigate this properly whatsoever. They sweep so much stuff under the rug. Look at the Cuss Road.
But we also don't know for sure.
If you read the reports and just go by what they report, nothing happened there at all.
Right.
But what we hear is a completely different story.
But we also don't know for sure that Dawn left her the message of the address. She says she believes she does, but she may not have had the address until afternoon, till the fax lead came in that Schuster left for her. I'm not saying she didn't. I just don't know. Dawn, to me, it sounds like as many times as Angela and Dawn tried to call her, they would have at least let her know the address in one of their messages that they left for her.
Mm-hmm.
So she may have very well then left the voicemail stating she didn't know where it was because she hadn't received the fax yet, not because Stephen was trying to lure her.
Both times until Stephen Avery tried to call Teresa Halbach directly, he calls Auto Trader early in the morning around 8 a.m., asked to set up an appointment for somebody to come out and take a picture of the van, leaves the info. Prior to that, he called Barb and notified her he was going to put the van in there. She said, I don't have the money for that. He said, I'll pay for it. He then calls Auto Trader right around. If you look at your phone records, you can see exactly what time he called. He then called Auto Trader back, and they confirmed, yes, somebody will be coming out there.
That's a big thing for me, Millbilly and Holly. You're the ones that dig into that, and Justa Denny's doing too. When they get on the stand and they're saying over and over that Stephen was deliberately doing a star 67 and hiding his number when he returned his calls to Teresa or when he was calling Teresa, can we like try to put that to rest? Does anybody have the information on that one?
Daniel, you've been going over these phone records extensively.
I've been going over it. I do see the phone calls from Stephen, but there's also, in some of the research I've been doing, there's certain call codes that go along with the phone calls, and there is nothing that stands out with the call codes that show anything suspicious. It looks like every other call that comes in. And with the research that I've been seeing, if you dial, say, star 67, it would come up as a different call code. So on her records, it does not show an abnormal call code.
Interesting.
So then you're basically saying, yeah, they weren't telling the truth again.
Pretty much. Yep.
All right.
No.
It does show on
they lie on search warrant. They lie every chance they get. If they were on the up and up, why are they lying so much? And it starts with the search warrants.
What were you saying, Holly?
I just asked it was on Stephen's cell records though, the star 67, was it? Where he called her 2 times?
I haven't dug into those yet. That'll probably be one of the next tasks that Justin Denny pulls into because he likes to get into these phone calls. I haven't looked into it yet. I don't know if anybody else has the answer to that.
I haven't really dug into Stevens. I've been digging into Teresa's a lot and trying to call bullshit on some of the reports.
Yep. But it should be interesting to find out what you find after you get everything situated.
I don't want to pronounce her name wrong. Chari. Isn't it possible that the message left at the zippers rang? Rare. I can't understand that part there. Then Barb's, and they just said that they had left it at Barb's. So I guess what we were talking about that earlier. How do we determine which voicemail was actually left, and can we do that? What did Zippers get, and what did Barb get?
Well, we got to know what was on that voicemail that Dennis Jacobs took to his grave with.
Yep.
So what happened with that situation, Millbilly? With Jacobs and that for the people who are new?
There's a missing voicemail that they claim they have, but we can't find it. It's gone forever. All we have is this one.
So basically, if I remember right, Jacobs and was it Remaker went over there, or was it just Jacobs went over there and recorded whatever was on Zipper's voicemail system and put it on a CD, and then that vanished? Is that right?
Well, the same day that they find the RAV, Jacobs and I believe Remaker go to the Zipper's house. That's probably when they got the voicemail recording. I just don't understand how she states that she doesn't know where the place is when she's been there umpteen times. 7 times, taking pictures of tons of vehicles. Like I said, whether it's Maz, Chuck's, the Dassies, Yondas, or Stephen Avery's, it's all Avery Road, regardless.
T1 has a question. Shouldn't landline calls to the answering machines have a timestamp on Teresa's cell phone records? And do those times correlate to cell phone tower locations?
Well, how about this, Justin? What's the discrepancy between Singular's records and AT&T's?
Where do you begin?
I don't know. You tell me.
Singular's records do not have, I'd have to verify this again, but Singular records are showing certain calls.
Remember, you can share your screen on here too.
And then the AT&T stuff that we got from Zellner's subpoena for the whole year is missing calls that Singular has. And I believe AT&T is missing Zipper's calls.
Why would that be? So whose records are more accurate, the AT&T or the Singular? What can we believe?
The problem we have with Singulars is we only get to see numbers that she dialed.
No incoming?
You don't get an incoming number from Singular.
Why not? Strange.
Don't know. Yeah.
We got Tom Pierce saying that she's being harassed by somebody. You think that would show up in her phone records?
You would think.
And
Just
if
like
not, all the other possibility is, did she have more than one phone?
Oh, that's a question that just came up.
Yep.
Did Teresa have a work phone and a personal phone? And I think Justin Denny has been doing some research, which gives him the question if that actually is true.
I've got to do some more verifying, but there is a very good possibility that it is. I've been going back through Queso and questioning, like when Ryan gives the cops the phone records, Teresa's records, and they start running all these back tracing numbers. How do they get it? You know, there's numbers in here that don't show up in Teresa's call log at all.
And weren't there some where she was saying that she called somebody or somebody called her and there's no call shown at all?
There is, in Queso, they talk about a phone number that they are trying to find out who it comes back to. The officer actually calls it, gets a voicemail of a Dr. D or Dr. Bradley DJ, and actually does an internet search to find out that it comes back to Bradley Scheck. That phone number that he is searching does not show up in her Singular bill or the AT&T phone bill information. So where did that number come from? How do they have that phone number to start looking into him?
And they actually called it and it went to that number, right?
That's the number that they called, correct?
Okay. And there's also the report, which it came up during the trial, about the AudioVox phone and some paperwork that Jerry Beauty questioned Pam Sturham about, that her and James Campan supposedly found on the side of the road, right where the sightings of the RAB were. That AudioVox phone, we've never seen hide nor hair of it.
They did find the phone there. Colburn took photos of it. We have yet to see any of these. Everything that's in Manitowoc's possession is most likely lost forever.
And didn't they mess up on the name and the model number in the reports of what that phone actually was?
Yes, Jeff pointed that out during the either I believe it's on the Foul Plays phone when he does it, the towers and stuff. He goes over that the AudioVox phone presentation he did.
Well, I remember Jerry. I remember Jerry Buting on the stand specifically asking her about that, and Ken Kratz got all up in arms, pretending that he didn't know about this AudioVox phone or the papers, and wants to know how Buting found out about it. And Buting's been given a tip that Pam and this James Campion had found this phone along with business papers or papers that were believed to be tied back to Teresa. We've never seen the papers either.
Nope.
While we're talking about phone calls, another huge question I keep seeing is who was the one that Teresa was ignoring and sending their calls to voicemail? There's been rumors that she was being harassed by somebody that's been brought up. Justin, you said you kind of been looking into that and that you've kind of narrowed it down to a few people. Can you explain that?
Well, right now I can rule out Ryan being that one that would be harassing her with that. His phone calls throughout the month of October to her, she's answered and has talked with him. He only has 4 calls that went to voicemail. And there's some that once they go to voicemail, within half hour, she turns around and calls back. So It cannot be Ryan.
Can I just make one quick statement, though? I've been looking at the logs myself, and I read, this is a credit to, I think it was a Reddit post that I going through, and it seems someone's done their homework. It seems that the Ryan and her would speak every single Monday as of like from November or October or something like that. It must have been October, the first month of October, first few weeks of October. Every Monday there was a conversation with her and Ryan. Funny enough, the only Monday he doesn't call her is the day she goes missing. There's no phone calls. I just thought that was interesting. I thought I'd throw that one in there.
No, you're right. I have it broken down on my notes here in front of me. You have a 10-3, 10-13, 10-15, 10-18, 10-20, 10-22, 10-24, 10-26, and then 11-2 when he calls and gets voicemail. So it's a pretty consistent
pattern.
Yeah.
This question kind of baffles me. And I'd like Millbilly probably to address this one. Bethany Marcy has stated, Brad was going through a divorce while dating Teresa Hallbach. The soon-to-be ex happens to be a Manitowoc cop. Is Casey a cop?
That's news to me. Where did you hear that?
Yeah, Bethany, where did you hear that? Because that's something that's
the problem. People hear things and they take it as fact.
Right.
Just like forever, they were saying that there's a Spanish line for Manitowoc. She
said Reddit.
Yep. Well, that's your problem. I stay away from Reddit. There's a lot of good people that do a lot of research on there but most part, when I look at Reddit posts, I start to comment, but I just realize I'm just going to be wasting my time.
Yeah, that's
maybe
one.
Maybe I'm not. It's just the way I feel.
I agree. I think that there's a lot of people who, because I saw a lot of people stating on the Pfeiffer thing that Bushman owned a funeral home. They're either not digging far enough or they're not digging at all, and they're going on hearsay. If they don't have documentation up to prove it or can't give you a link to show you where to go and look at it to prove it, I would consider that there's a possibility that it's not true.
Yep. Well,
again,
there
that's
are people in the community that like to push bullshit out there. So
yeah. And that's what I mean. A lot of it becomes speculation. Like a lot of people start making their, they hear something, they kind of add their theory, their speculations to it, and then it kind of grows from there. That's why when I've been going through all these platforms and I see people keep writing the same questions, and then someone will, there's like, say there's 50 people that answer, 50% of them are saying one thing and another 50% are saying a different. And then you're thinking, well, which one is it? Because a lot of people will go on what their theory would be, like, you know, like, did he throw the cat in the fire? Instead of actually going through the documentations and seeing that, no, it wasn't actually him. Yes, he participated. Yes, he took the blame. He got time for it and stuff. You know, other people were like, yeah, but he wasn't the one that threw it in, but that's as far as they go with it. They didn't go back to see that it was Jerry. And the reason why Stephen took the blame was because Jerry was in big trouble and he was trying to make sure he didn't go further in trouble and go to jail. So that's what I mean. Like, this is why I wanted to do this, because all these questions keep coming up. And like Millbilly just said, people spin bullshit and speculation, and it's just trying to clear up. If there's questions that you guys have, honestly, throw it to us so that when we finish this, if there's ones we haven't covered, we'll go back and do the research, and we'll do another one, another top 10 that you guys keep bringing up, and we'll see what we can find. We're happy to help as much as we can because we're learning through this as well.
Yeah, we are.
Some of the stuff that the questions that we're bringing to you guys is the questions that we settled with ourselves. Would hear something and we would just leave it as that until we've gone right into it, because I believed that Bushman's wife owned the funeral home. So I've always believed that was the link. But now that Hostile did the work and the research, no, they don't actually directly own it. It's indirectly, like it was through family of hers, but not their actual funeral home, which I was like, wow, okay, well, there you go. That debunks that whole, he just rang up his wife and said, we've got a body coming, get ready to start burning. So, you know, that's I thought was really interesting.
Jay Seagroves asks, is it verified 100% that the key they found in Avery's room is the valet key?
I don't know. Well, we got to find out if that's her car first.
Here we go, Kelly.
Just know.
There's two reds.
But
What color?
it's funny because the over the cat, when I did all my research, over the cat being one of the top questions that everyone brings up is who actually threw the cat on the fire. The top leading question that I found over and over again was, are you ready? Was the car blue or is it green? And I literally just went, mm-hmm. And I think, you know, I get what Millbilly's saying. Every time we do this RAV debate, I get what he's saying. There is a lot of physical aspects to this RAV that is wrong, and I get that.
Well,
but with the
we see them lying everywhere else. So who's to say they wouldn't do some shit like that?
Agreed.
Brings up the next question. Does law enforcement, specifically Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department, have a connection to a salvage yard?
Here we go.
Yes, they do. I did some digging on that. Cleveland Salvage Yard. Of course, we have Robert Herman, and he also had his brother Todd, who were on these cases. Their father actually owned Cleveland Salvage Yard in Cleveland, Wisconsin. So, yes, they did have access to salvage yard. They had access to, obviously, towing trucks. I know that someone had asked, and I think Calf or Braun had gone in to look. I think it might have been Braun, if they had a crusher. And there was something that appeared like it could be, but I think that's something we could dig into more to find out if they actually had a crusher. So Herman did have a direct connection, being that his father was the one who owned Cleveland Salvage Yard.
And who accompanies Bushman when he arrives on the property on the 7th? Anybody?
Herman.
Todd Herman. Not Rob Herman. Todd Herman.
Todd.
Same one's involved in the Ricky case.
I was kind of, when I was digging into that today, I was kind of, you never expect public service people to be making the kind of wages Todd Herman was making. I mean, for me, I didn't. And then for him to leave the force like he did rather abruptly, I guess, in my opinion. It just really strange.
Yep. And Todd Herman, his either ex-wife or girlfriend at some time, she's a school counselor.
Wouldn't happen to be at Brendan's school, would it?
I don't know. But the counselor that was at Brendan's school at the time, she was there for training. So, another question. Was Stephen really going to get the $36 million in his lawsuit? What do you guys think?
I think that's a good one because we know the $36 million was an actual lawsuit. We know that. We know that was the basis of it. The thing is, because it never went through, we'll never know whether or not he would have settled less or even got more for that matter. All I can say confidently is we all know that was, besides the fact that there was reputations and, the behind-the-scene legal affairs and depositions that were going on being the bigger motive than the money, but the money really is a reason that they tunnel vision Stephen to being committed to this crime. So 36 million, would he have got it? There is no proof either he would or he wouldn't.
He might have got more.
Exactly right. He could have ended up with more, especially if they were all guilty of doing what they
depositions that we really would have liked to hear.
His lawsuit went.
Yep.
That's one misconception I was really under until today when we were all discussing this. Pop-Tart, who is Mrs. Justa Denny, and Millbilly and myself and Holly, I was under the misconception that he was supposed to get 400 from just getting out, and then he was supposed to get 400 from the settlement with Manitowoc when he decided to go ahead and stop the case. But Millbilly, you informed me I was not correct there.
Because that's why he took out his lawsuit, because they were only going to give him $400,000. That's why he started his lawsuit, and it was nearing the end. It was in his favor 100%. And then Teresa goes missing.
Basically, when he said he was, so when he said, "Okay, I'm going to take the settlement," he didn't get anything from the lawsuit at all.
No, his lawyers convinced him, maybe you should put your lawsuit on hold and just take what they're giving you and use that for your defense.
Yeah. So basically, all he got was the 400,000 he was going to get anyways. He got nothing out of the law.
He didn't get nothing.
He didn't even get the 400,000.
Technically, he didn't get shit.
No.
Gene Kelly took 140, and then the rest went to Dean and Jerry. And what they used that money for, God knows me, because they didn't call any experts that I know. They relied upon the state's experts and cross-examining him, thinking that'd be good enough.
Yeah, see, I'm glad that I actually asked you to talk about that, because Shaz says that she was under the same impression, too, that they got 400 from everybody. I guess the way we thought it was is they got the 400 from the lawsuit, and they were still supposed to get money from the state, but they didn't. That's the way I thought it was.
They didn't give him shit for him when he got out. That's why he was living in an ice shanty. People in the community were setting up donations to give money for him because, like I said, he was living in that. Then he finally got some money, and what did he do? He went out and bought the truck.
Yeah, I mean, that's a huge misconception. People thought that Stephen was still owed another 400,000 from the state because they thought the money he got was from the legal suit.
No,
I've had many people
his lawsuit was
that's what they
canceled.
thought.
His lawsuit was canceled. They
So there
settled.
wasn't a
They
time.
dropped the lawsuit, and he took what they gave him. They wanted to give him less. He argued to get the 4,000. They gave it to him.
See, for me, this is the hugest misconception that I learned today, because I truly thought he got the money. I got the 400,000 from his lawsuit.
Well, that's what he was telling her. He was anticipating that 400,000 no matter what.
Right.
Because Jody moves in the trailer first. He's living in an ice shanty. They start dating. He then moves in. Roland Johnson, them staying there was only temporarily till he got his money. Then he was going to move out.
Yeah, many different forums people have believed that the state, I guess they thought because isn't there a certain amount that when they get out, they're supposed to give them so much for each year they were in there wrongfully convicted?
Yeah, but who determines that is the problem.
So my understanding was that
he got screwed. Yep.
He got screwed, but that he got money, that they settled the lawsuit for $400,000, and that the state never paid him the money he was owed for.
In the end, he didn't get nothing. He didn't get nothing. He got a life sentence. That was it.
Here we go. Great. Thank you for clearing that up for me, because that was a huge misconception for me.
All right, another question. How much time can be accounted for them transporting the RAV to and from the Avery property? Now, there's two different routes you could take. The direct routes, I mean, you could take I don't know why you would take the most indirect route to the crime lab, but how long should it have taken them to get there?
Let me pull that up. I think I have it. If you don't have it on your side, Millbilly, because I screenshotted that.
It's right in my head. It depends on which route you take.
Okay. Well, you have between 2 hours and 38 minutes up to 2 hours and 48 minutes.
That's correct.
And I believe Justa Denny pulled up that information as to what it said in CASO.
Yep. If you want to bring that up on your computer and just share your screen so everybody else can see it.
I gotta find it. Give me a second.
No problem. We have no hurry.
Yeah. Once again, for all of you who are joining late, Millbilly's going to put a link for BAM down in his description box, and all of these documents we've found that we're answering your questions on, they'll be in BAM underneath the title of the video.
I already put the link in the comments a while ago.
Awesome.
All right, where'd you guys go?
I'm right here.
We're still here.
And the reason why this question I kept coming across quite a lot was how long would it really take? How long were they really gone for? That a lot of the comments were saying, you know, that's where a lot of people believe the blood was planted. There's a lot of...
You mean the car was switched?
Or exactly. Or let's get to that point, Billy. But, you know, there's people that say that there is two RAVs, that's when the car was switched. So,
the interior.
The interior, whether it was the whole body, whatever, that's where they're saying that the reason why it took so long is because there was either planting or whether it was the blood or the RAV itself. Because the timings just don't add up. They pretty much go off the radar for those few hours.
And I've heard everything from 20 minutes, that they were 20 minutes over what they should have been to 4 hours over. So I had no idea until somebody went in and dug for us like Justa Denny did, so we could actually know how much time there's a discrepancy about.
Yeah, well, we have the audio of the guy that came to pick up the RAV. Well, and we know what time he arrives on the property, but like I said, they hide so much, it's ridiculous. What I hear and what they say is two different things. I'm going to believe what I hear rather than what I read.
And what I have up on my screen is from trial when they're the testimony of Erdl. And it says, I believe it was about 8:45 when they had left. And then what time did you arrive in Madison? It was about 1:15. And what time did you finish securing the RAV? It was about 2 a.m. So from 8:45 to 1:15, it took
10, 11, 12, 1. So over 4 hours?
Yeah, 4.5.
That's enough. That's enough time to do some planting and
4.5 hours. And it's a 2-hour and 48-minute drive at most.
kind of reminds me of that pap smear that ultimately made it to the crime lab, I guess.
Well, it's just like when they're transporting the barrels from the Avery's property to Calumet. They state that they had to stop because the trailer was wobbly. Now, we have photos of them loading barrels into a box truck, not a trailer. So whose barrels did they load into the trailer? And what was the real reason they had to stop? Because if it was because the stuff in the trailer wasn't positioned right, it would take more than a minute for them to fix that.
I'm excited to dig into the next one and find out how many there are.
You wouldn't adjust the trailer. You'd adjust the contents inside the trailer to stop the trailer from wobbling, because your weight distribution has got to be correct. If you improperly load a trailer, it's a death trap for you and whoever's driving on the road with you.
Now, what kind of trailers were these, Millbilly? Were they like box, like pods, or were they regular flat trailers, or
area enclosed trailers, like the ones you see for snowmobiles, 4-wheelers?
Okay.
Long equipment. It's not a huge one. It's just a small one. You can see it in the photos. I could bring them up.
Just quickly, Gloria has just said the state has just filed their response. What can we expect?
I found that out last night when I went on the website. They mailed it. We have to wait for them to receive it, and then we'll see what happens next. We should get the actual documents for the response soon.
Basically, what happens with that, I talked to
it's been
Wendy,
mailed.
who's in family groups. Basically, she said what would happen is they'll submit theirs. Kathleen then has an opportunity to respond to what the state has replied to her initial motion, and then it goes in front of the judges for their decision.
It's just like Colbert's lawsuit, same procedure.
Yeah.
It's just the state has been fucking bullshitting forever and ever and ever and ever, and continue to.
So hopefully Kathleen's got pretty much everything she thought of that they're going to come back at her with already pre-done, so she can submit it. But she's not gonna miss a single element of what they put in their response, just like she didn't when she got the response from them the first time. She's going to cover everything.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So we're probably looking another 2 to 3 months down the line before it even goes in front of the judges, right?
She's going to rip them a new one.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Jamie.
Hey, Jamie.
Hey, guys.
Good evening, Jamie.
Sorry I was late.
That's all right. We're just glad you're here.
I had a bunch of stuff loaded in my other program, but I had little technical difficulties. But
With the other platform?
yeah. Well, another question.
Shaz asked Millbilly, does KZ know about the whisper tapes?
They're not. Well, the only reason we have any audio from the whisper channels from Calumet or Manitowoc is because the dispatcher switched to their frequency too.
Were you given an explanation, Millbilly, as to why we have no audio for the 4th for Manitowoc or any of them?
That's what they were given. That's what they gave out. What Jerry Buting had and what we hear is two different things. He had the entirety. Somebody has it. I don't know who. If they do, I wish they'd reach out to me so I can listen to it again. Do the same thing I did with Calumet. Like I said, the people that had the audio for Calumet had it a year before I did. And it was a group of people listening to it, not just one person. They did nothing with it.
J.C. Grove says it will be lost in the mail. She's talking about the reply from the state, and they'll ask for another extension.
Well, after they mail it, they then can send it electronically too. But it's because if you look at the sequence of events with his case, Zellner accidentally e-filed it before she sent it. One of the briefs. You guys got any more questions? Ask me anything.
Millipedia is open and ready.
There's another question that I came across, which in the research I was doing that comes up quite a bit. A lot of discussion about the Mike O, the Bobby Dassey testimony, and Stephen. So that's pretty much could have been possible that Stephen had said to the boys, especially Mike O, can you help me get rid of a body? That has come up a lot. A lot of people are saying, hang on, I heard Stephen was in jail. And then some other people are like, it doesn't make sense because of the deer timing. The times and the dates are all wrong. And because it was, and obviously a lot of people are saying if that was a true statement and that Kratz went with that, why didn't they put Mike O in the stand? Why was that not asked from him directly? So that's another big one I come across all the time, a lot of discussion and confusion regarding this comment from, Bobby about this Mike situation, him being present when Stephen's talking about getting rid of a body. Millbilly, can you fill us in with that one?
Well,
it's page 259 in case so, if anybody's able to pull it up.
If you read the trial testimony, Ken Kratz says that happened on the 3rd, Wednesday.
I'm going to see if I can play it.
Now, if you read Queso's statement that Mike O gives, he claims the only time he was on the Avery's property between the 31st and the 14th was on the 10th. And that's when this conversation happened between Mike O, Stephen Avery, Bobby Dassey. Now, how is Kratz saying this happened on this day, but Mike O says he wasn't even fucking there? Why did the cops ignore it? Why does the attorneys ignore it?
There is, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to play it or not. We'll see if it'll go up.
After the press conference, the reporters started asking Kratz a lot of questions about Mike O.
Yeah, it's not going to play. Basically, it was Connie. What's her last name, Millbilly?
Colleen Henry.
Colleen.
She works for Channel 12 out of Milwaukee.
Right. He was asked about that being brought in, and Colleen literally said, it seems that your question is the one that made this incident happen on the 3rd, because we don't see it in any of the reports that have been released. And that is true. If anybody, Justin Denny, are you able to pull up that Queso 259 on there or not, or Millbilly? But basically, Mike O says it happened on the 10th, which is impossible. And the way that it was said, they didn't even bring in the additional information where Stephen supposedly said, a lot of people come up missing. I wouldn't be surprised if she was in Mexico. So the way that they twisted it, they confronted Kratz with that. She said he inferred it. He blew it off. Another reporter does the same thing and he's like, well, what is the testimony is what he said on the stand. He's not concerned with the fact that he's the one that put the date in there or that it didn't match up with the testimony or the reports that were done from Mike O. All he's concerned about is what went on record and what that jury heard. He wasn't worried about the truth. And the reporters tried to call him on it, and he just went right past them.
Here we go. Mike Osmond's statement. Question is, what did Bobby Dassey say on his 11-9 interview that they're not letting us hear? Because without them talking to him, they would know nothing about Mike. Just like when they talk to Earl, they don't know nothing about Robert Fabian until they talk to Earl. You got to look into the sequence that everybody's investigated, everybody's talked to. Like right after Stephen Avery mentions that Tammy Weaver told him that the cops planted the car, what do? They go and talk to her then. Yep. Like I said, any time between the 31st and the 14th, he was only there on Thursday, 11:10. He and Bobby were inside the Dassey garage, which Stephen came over. Michael indicated he was aware Stephen was one of the last people to see the missing girl and jokingly asked Stephen, now, if he's saying this is Thursday, was that the 4th then? No, I mean, yeah. No, the 3rd.
Yeah.
The 3rd.
Yeah.
Thursday the 3rd?
And they tried to do that because she wasn't even reported, and they tried to make it even look worse because it wasn't really broadcasted.
If you listen to Bobby Dassey's 11/17/17 interview, he messes up. And even the investigator has to correct him because he says, we learned about her missing. Well, he states it was before she was reported missing. And he was like, what do you mean by that? He was like, we seen it later on that night on the news. You was informed by Stephen Avery that she was missing, and the cops had just been there. Stephen asked if you want to come to Menards with them. What do you say? No, I got something to do. Stephen then leaves. What does he see? He sees lights. Was that Bobby leaving? Driving through the field? We don't know. We need to hear his interview. Why are they hiding it? Just like the Jody calls. Like, I don't know who killed Teresa Halbach. I don't even try to speculate. I just know that they're hiding things for a reason. It's very apparent they did not do a proper investigation. Anything that would have looked away from Stephen Avery was completely ignored.
T1 asked a question.
Go ahead, Kafaf.
T1 asked a question.
What's the question?
Has anyone requested records or notes JB and DS had in their defense but not used at the trial or objected to during trial? JB had more records and questions on the deleted VM for the singular manager.
Have you? Not that I know of.
Just
everything that I've forwarded for has been denied. I keep playing for the same things, and it keeps being denied.
Ditto here. As I've said before, I've tried to get all of Jody's calls. It's been denied, and even the ones that have been released previously, they're not re-releasing. They have got their thumbs down on all of the information, and they don't want to let anything out because they're tired of people like Millbilly and Calf and the really big researchers.
Researching. They just don't.
Yeah, they're afraid of what you guys are gonna. I mean, I research. Kelly researches. Justa Denny is getting into this, but people like Calf and Millbilly and
Braun.
Reddit Braun. The ones that really dig, they don't want you guys getting your hands on it because you've already caught them. Their pants are down, and you guys have caught them.
Oh, do they have to have their pants down?
Yeah, they
Oh, the digging I did yesterday, I'll tell you what, they'd want to be scared today.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for that. That's going to be a good live.
That's going to be a good one. Speaking of the pants down, I think they almost caught themselves because one of the other ones, the questions that have come up a few times, and T1 actually brought it to our attention yesterday when we were brainstorming and going through all these questions that we keep coming across. There seems to be a lot of confusion because there's a lot of there's been documentations that state that they actually seized the RAB before the 3rd, on the 2nd and such and such.
Yeah, we went over that. No, not on the 2nd, on the 3rd. On the 3rd. We went over this during the RAB video.
Yeah. Yes, I
That's-
remember, but I'm just stating that with their pants down, quote unquote. That's what I mean. Like, we've got the researchers, good digging through, but then on the other side of it, you got them that are making, like, they forget that their own mistakes is undoing their own case as well. They push pen to paper just to make that illusion that it was all correct, but then when you go back to it, they were quite sloppy, really.
Well, when you think about it, people really didn't dig into Stephen's first case. They didn't have the kind of eyes all on them. And Stephen was a nobody. He was just a guy that from the wrong side of the tracks, and they thought they could just bulldoze him again. Well, this time people kind of stood up and took notice and started digging. I don't think they were ever expecting it.
What about Joyce Keith's written, is it possible to ping Whitelaw Tower from Cuss Road?
Justin? Well, Jeff would be able to answer that question better than
Yeah, that
anybody.
would have to be a Jeff.
Yeah, I thought, don't
I
know,
do
because
know-
that's conflicting, because I've heard that it can only do so much of a radius, but then I've heard conflicting information on that can go a lot further than what we think.
And
I
from
suppose
what
it
I know,
depends on
talking with Jeff, it depends on elevation, what kind of foliage is around, if you got a lot of open fields or a lot of heavy wooded areas.
Would that also have something to do with like time of year, because there's less foliage in fall and winter?
Again, that goes back to Jeff. Jeff's got a little better of that than I do.
Yeah.
I guess it's possible.
But it's her phone pinged off that tower twice that day.
Okay. So the chances that she was probably closer to that than anything.
Well, it would have been her going to the Avery's or Zippers, and then her on her way going to wherever she went next, because we have that dispatch call, the lady stating that she's seen a car like Teresa's driving down 147 west, and she turned on the R. The lady never stayed which way she turned on the R, but if you look at where her cell phone pings, she turned south. All right. Another question we had. I think that's all of them.
Did we hit them all today?
Yeah.
One has it. What was the temperature in October 10th, 2005 at Avery Salvage Yard? Was it swimming weather?
Yes, it was.
Okay. Did you remember looking at that, Millbilly?
I remember it was hot back then. September and October. Like, the seasons have changed. Like, back from when I was growing up as a little kid. They don't get as cold. Well, 2 years ago, it got really cold, but the winters aren't the same. It snows later in the year now than it used to. It sucks if you like snowmobiling here, especially in the southeastern, central Wisconsin. You got to go up north.
Whoops.
But this is the Manitowoc Sheriff's Department summary report. Make this a little bigger. All right, you guys can read that?
Yep.
Yep.
All right, this was generated by Larry Ledvina, and you know who Larry Ledvina is, right?
Oh, yes, I do. Mr. You Can't Have It. He is Manitowoc's record keeper.
Yep. Now, all these names in here are quite interesting, too. I mean, like his name, Paul Rabas. This right here is Kim Ducat, confidential informant. You'll see why when we read through this. Now, right here, we got Teresa Halbach kidnapped. Her car, dark green, in their custody, evidence seized on the 3rd. Be nice
So
if it's a timestamp too, instead of just dated like they have everything else.
on the 3rd, they're saying that she's kidnapped, not that she possibly took off.
Let's read through this whole summary. I, Detective Remaker, was called in to assist with the investigation reference a missing adult. Right there, that's a lie. Well, not necessarily. He was called in because Link and Pages, Jacobs, and Remaker to meet him at the station. They both have no clue why. They asked the dispatcher, "Do you know what for?" She says, "Nope." So we got Wiegert calling and talking to Andrew Colborn. I guarantee he called Link right away. LinkedIn Pages, Remaker, and Jacobs. Then they got John Dietering coming in the situation. He's sent over there by Wiegert to go to Manitowoc to interview George Zipperer. Now, if you go back and listen to all the audio I've posted, you'll hear it. The dispatcher tells an officer that John Dietering is en route to Manitowoc Sheriff's Department because he needs to talk to George Zipperer because he got an attorney. Apparently, she had been to 2 locations in Manitowoc, one being Stephen Avery's, her friend. That's what the dispatcher says. So who did the dispatcher hear that from? The other one being George Zipperer, and he got an attorney so that Dietering has to go talk to him in person.
I would be really interested to see who would represent George Zipperer. That's just a thing that came to my mind. When
Dietering meets up with Remaker and Lincoln Jacobs, Dietering stated they received the missing adult report from family members on 11/3/05. Investigator Dietering stated during his follow-up, he found that Teresa made at least 2 stops in Manitowoc County, reference her employment. Teresa is currently employed at a company called Auto Trader from Fox Cities area. Their main office is based out of Milwaukee, and all here in Hales Corners. Their office used to be 45 minutes, or about 30 minutes from my house. It's now just an office building. Somebody else has now occupied that. Dietering stated, based on his investigation, he found that Teresa made 2 stops at the residence, Avery Road, and on County Road B, being George Zipperer's. These locations have been identified as the residence of George Zipperer and possibly Stephen Avery. But they didn't know that they were going to see Stephen Avery because they should have been going to see Barbianda. So the reports are very telling because they leave things in they shouldn't even be doing. Various locations take photos of vehicles with attempts in their sold. Teresa has not returned home, and there are indications that it's very unusual. There are concerns about Teresa's well-being. Investigator Dietering requested our assistance in making contact at some residents in Manitowoc County in an attempt to obtain further information. Now, that's false because Colborn took it upon himself to go directly to Avery's. There's no documentation in this at all. We only have audio of him running George Zipperer's name, but not Avery's. I remember he received information previously that Sergeant Colborn made contact with Avery property on Avery Road. Sergeant Colborn made contact with Stephen Avery and was obtained information about his observations involving Teresa Halbach. Information received was that Teresa was on at Avery's property to take a photo of a vehicle which is possibly owned by Barbianda. Sergeant Colborn indicated he received information that Teresa was at the Avery property on 10/31/05 during the afternoon hours. Several attempts were made to make contact with Teresa on her cell phone. Queso indicated that the Teresa's cell phone is either off on no longer? Or no, Justin,
Yes.
do you have phone records of, because if the police were trying to contact her, the number would come up anonymous. Just like any governmental phone that you're using for your work.
Correct.
After making several other attempts to obtain additional information, I was decided to attempt to contact Zipper residents in Manitowoc. Investigator Sergeant Goldborn, Dietering, and I went to that address. Now that's not correct, because Sergeant Goldborn is sitting in the church parking lot, and if you listen to the dispatch, you hear Dietering radio and ask Goldborn if he has a cell phone. Remaker is en route, waiting. They all meet up at the same time because you have Remaker asking if Andy got that plate info. Colburn says negative. So none of these people are together. Dietering, God knows where he is. He's probably with Lincoln Jacobs because Jacobs is the one that radios in to see if Dietering, Remaker, and Colburn made it into the residence at the Zipperers. So none of them are together, and they're constantly communicating on a cell phone. Move a little forward to the good part. All right, 11/4/05. Lieutenant Link was contacted by KSO Investigator Wiegert and requested that he make contact at the Avery residence and obtain further information. Lieutenant Link and I went to 12932 Avery Road. Now, who is I? Anybody have a guess? They didn't list who it was.
Ryan Killigus?
No, Lincoln Remaker.
I know, but Ryan keeps showing up everywhere.
Be good to know if Stephen, well, he states he noticed the blood when did he go back in the bathroom? Right when he woke up in the morning or after the cops came?
I think he said the next day or whatever when he got up in the morning. Because I remember thinking, what, he held on all that time going to the loo, only because I go about 10 times a night. So it was the next morning.
So he lets them search. They don't find nothing. $11.05. I remember was working at the Manitowoc Sheriff's Office, and I received a phone call from Investigator Mark Wiegert. We have that. I have all this audio that confirms that what they're doing. But when he gets to the stuff we hear about Cuss Road, there's nothing.
So, Millbilly, in this, who are your leads? The ones that are most suspect for you as far as the corruption? Which officers?
Link, Colborn, Jacobs, Shetter, Remaker, the whole damn department.
So you're not leaving anybody out as being naive.
You want me to name them all?
But none of them are naive in your case, huh?
No, none of them. I mean, like, get to the events that happened on 11/7.
Millbilly, can you let Kelly back in?
I didn't know she left.
She was gone for a couple seconds. There she is. I mean, the ones that stick out for me at least are Remaker, Dietering, Jacobs, Colburn, Link, definitely Herman and Pagel.
And Kratz, the ringleader.
Yes, and Fassbender. Sometimes I just think Wiegert may have been stupid, but then I think, no, he wasn't.
Look what they did to Brendan.
That's
actually
stupid. Yeah, exactly. I agree with Millbilly there. Also, that was another thing that I keep seeing. A lot of people were torn between wondering whether Kratz was really involved in how much they were telling him, and he was just as not blindsided, but they were giving him the facts, but not giving him everything, and he was just doing whatever he could to win a case, or whether he was directly involved and he was feeding into this bullshit. A lot of people are torn between that. Everyone agrees he's pig, but a lot of people are like, I don't know how much he really knows. And then
when I dug into that, I got my answer. When I really got my answer as far as Kratz is, I went through and I read all of Scott Taddock's his messages about, or his interviews. And when he went through all of his interviews, his time frame for what he did never changed. He said he was home between 3:15 and 3:30. Every single time he was interviewed. Did some of it change a little bit here and there on the other stuff? Yes. But his time never changed until he got on that stand. And all I can continually remember hearing is, I prep my witnesses. And all of a sudden it jumped to court. What was it? 2:45 and 3 he was home.
They lie.
That was all from his coaching from Kratz. And that's when I knew Kratz was way more into this than others.
Mm-hmm.
He was telling his witnesses what he needed to say so he could have his narrative at the end.
Well, this goes back to the 2004 incident. October, he pulls out his lawsuit. In 2004 fire, Barb's Blazer is very, very suspicious.
Jamie, what do you think?
Right before that, the Marie Avery incident too.
Sorry, I was talking to a neighbor here and I missed the question.
What do you think? Is Kratz all in on this? Is he orchestrating it, or is he just stupid and along for the ride?
Orchestrating. He's the ringleader.
So I took a couple pictures.
Mm-hmm.
So he's the puppet master?
He's going to be the fall guy.
I mean, I kind of watching Peterson on the stand, I kind of felt like he was the evil puppet master myself, and all of them were just falling into what he said because he came off as pure evil. Even more so than Kosarik, in my opinion.
They're all evil. Every last one of them. They had no idea that Laura and Maya were going to do this and create making a murderer. Otherwise,
Kelly, could you ask him, since he seems to talk to you?
Oh no, he doesn't talk to me anymore. He was angry. Even though he called me his little Nancy Drew, he got angry at me because he went back and was looking at all my Twitter accounts and saw a tweet that I wrote about how I want to roast him on a spit like a pig that he is, and a sweaty pig that he is, and he did not take that kindly. He thought we were friends and that offended him. And then he's like, nice group you're in. So he's obviously watching us all, Foul Play, Millbilly, everyone, Eric, because he's watching everybody, because he's like, oh, by the way, nice group. So he's watching us all. And I think it comes down to the fear. I think it's almost like he wants to see how close we get. I know that sounds weird. Like, I also believe that the real killer, you can't tell me they don't watch everyone. All the researchers, all the YouTube channels, they want to see who's getting close to them. It's part of their natural curiosity. They've got away with it this long that their name hasn't been, either it's been brought up as a Jenny suspect, but they haven't been literally caught. You can't tell me they're not sitting back watching this. And
there's no proof she was killed. There's no proof on how she died, if she's dead. It could have been a drug overdose. It could have been natural causes. It could have been an accident. She could have been killed. We don't know. There wasn't a proper investigation done whatsoever. All we know is what we have, and we can see how and they framed Avery and who participated. That's what I'm looking at. based on the information I've been able to obtain. That's all I can do.
I'm kind of curious, everybody who's on the panel, what do you think is going to happen with this when it goes in front of these appellate judges? Do you think that we're going to get the evidentiary hearing, or do you think that she's going to have to go back to the drawing board and, like appeal it to a higher level? What do you guys think?
It's going to have to go to the higher courts.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
With what Billy said, it's going to have to go higher.
Calf. Jamie?
All right. Great
Okay.
info.
You're all in agreement, I guess. I'm kind of hopeful. I'm hoping that the judges, because of all of this, I'm hoping that they're fed up and that they see through the charade and they say, we're going to give her the evidentiary hearing. We're kind of done with this and we want it over and done with. But that's just hopeful, I guess.
Yep. Well, any more questions out there? What was your last question, Jamie?
Just going up to have a look.
T1 says, biggest question is DV involved. Mindshock believes so.
Who?
DV.
Dennis Vogel?
Yep.
Was he not being deposed?
Yep.
Of course.
If you look on his website now, he's in
What I think doesn't matter though. None of this matters until she gets her day in court. We can sit here and talk about it, speculate all we want. Until she gets her day in court, it doesn't mean nothing.
Jamie's last question was about if there was a receipt book of Teresa for ever mentioned or found. The receipt book, was it ever mentioned or found?
Where's her registration for her car? Her title. Her title might have been, she might have been paying off her car so the bank would have had her title, but she definitely would have had registration in her car. What is this paperwork they found along 147, along with the audio box phone?
Exactly.
In fact, in one of the newscasts that they did, I was going through and watching the newscasts that Old Dog uploaded, and they had a list of like 5 things they were looking for. And the first thing they were looking for was the registration for the vehicle. That's the first thing they were looking for.
Yep. It seems like Manitowoc found exactly what happened to her, and they covered up and framed Stephen Avery.
Mary made a good comment. She's like, yes, Stephen Avery had a receipt. Why would he pay her and then kill her? Like that.
He didn't get a receipt the last 2 times she came.
Nobody did get receipts from her.
He got the Auto Trade magazine, though. That proves she was there.
Yep.
What did they do to Bobby to make him lie?
Personal opinion?
And you gotta remember, they didn't find his computer information until way after the fact. What he said on the 5th?
He's supposedly the last one. He probably opened his mouth and said, yeah, you saw her. And then that made him the last one to see her. So, it's you or him, what's it going to be?
Well, that's exactly right. You got to remember, he says he did see her there. And then the next statement, his uncle saying she left and then Bobby's car was gone. They might have been actually putting the pressure on him originally and saying, you are now the last one that actually physically seen her alive. And now we have a statement from your uncle saying you were following behind her. So they could have been really pressing him on that.
And if you listen to his 2017 interview, he claims he doesn't even know why they were selling the van. Claims there was so much wrong with it. But I got a video that shows that Stephen had been working on that van for over a year. He goes on the news in September of 04, just days before the 04 fire incident happens. And he's working on that van, the exact van.
And he tells Lloyd and his investigator that he knew she was coming, that they were selling the van on his 11/23 interview.
And Blaine and Brendan helped him clean it out and get it ready. He needed Bobby to charge a battery so they could move it. It wasn't always parked where it's found. It was by the house.
And I want to say something, excuse me, on that receipt. They did have a receipt. The DOJ did have one, but it didn't have a date or time on it. So I don't know if that's what she's referring to or not.
I got booted. I got too far away from Wi-Fi.
Shame on you.
I know. What do you do? had to walk with the neighbors. There's a house getting built next door to me, and we're looking at the grade for when we get 7-inch rains. His house is going to flood.
Wow.
Not my problem.
We're gonna get our first tropical storm, so it's coming early this year.
Fun.
So we're looking for that coming, yeah.
Well, any more questions?
Yeah, one for you, Millbilly.
Yep.
You say them, or you talk about them lying in their search warrants. Just wanted to clarify, what time did Karen Hallbach call?
2:37 p.m.
And what time does the search warrant say?
She called at 5 p.m.
Okay. And then Dietering has a report in here saying that he is already researching her cell provider by 5:30. So he got a hold of her numbers, according to their report, only a half an hour after. Just more proof that that call had to take place earlier in the day.
Yep. 100%.
They didn't care when they lied in those search warrants or affidavits. They didn't care.
No.
They was planned. So Remaker calls in the morning of the 5th, asking, do they got any leads or anything? Did they get his cell phone records? He says, Dietering has them. It's okay, I'll be here till about 4 o'clock. If you need anything, shoot my line. Hangs up. I've said this before. Then he hangs up, and then Uyghur calls back and says, hey, change of plans. Boss wants us to do something. That's why Remaker is the first one on the property on the 5th when the car's found. 6:30.
They
Why do you
also
think there
say
was a 2.5 hour delay?
Yeah, well, 6:30 in the morning, Pam Strum calls the Calumet County dispatcher because she just seen the news and seen that they're doing searches. Wants to know if she knows where they're going to be. Dispatcher says, "No, I don't."
They also say in that search warrant, that same search warrant that Justa Denny brought up is that the RAV is blue. That she reported it was blue, not dark green, or kinda.
I went over this in my RAV debate. Why I think there's two. Until Zellner gets the car, I will always think that if and when they still have it. They got rid of the bone, so why wouldn't they get rid of that?
That's what Silkman says too. He thinks the RAV is gone and all they have are little pieces of the
Look at Jake's voicemail. Disappeared, gone forever.
Maybe that's why they're putting so much more 35,000 extra words in there, because they really don't need this evidential hearing to be granted, because if they do get, and then she gets access to that RAV and then they turn around and go, oh, by the way, we now don't have that RAV. Oh dear.
We don't have the bones. We don't have the RAV.
They don't have a case.
Gonna make the state look like a whole lot of stupid.
Yeah.
Well, they're doing that for themselves already. Like
Yes,
I said,
that-
they had no idea making a murder was going to be made. That's why Kratz fought so hard to subpoena all their fucking information they had recording. The directors, they didn't respond. They just ignored his ass because he subpoenaed all audio and video, even the news, flyovers, interviews, news reports, anything. He subpoenaed it all. Why?
You think it's just because he's so vain that he wanted to watch himself during this case? He probably still watches before trial.
I just have to share. We're going to have some reading to do, Millbilly, when we get done, because Big Jeff just posted the response in your research server.
Well,
Oh my.
all right.
Let's get-
Well, let's end this, and then we might be right back. All right.
This
Good night,
should be
everybody.
fun.
See y'all.
Stay tuned.
Hey guys.
Good night, everybody.
I can't believe that it's getting released this late in the day.
But Big Jeff just posted